The title is like macro markets and more. I won't do anything on macro. I won't do anything on markets. I'll do everything on more. I'm told that, not told meaning I read somewhere, that when Albert Einstein went to heaven, he was trying to build a community. He asked someone like, "What's your IQ?" The person said 180 or whatever, 160. He said, "That's great. We can discuss unified theory of universe. We can discuss strings theory. We can discuss like many interesting things." He met another person and asked, "What's your IQ?" And he said 120. He said, "Good, we can discuss politics, we can discuss movies, many other things." He met another guy, said, "What's your IQ?" He said 60. And he asked him, "Where do you think the markets will be next week?" So I won't reveal my IQ by doing that. And the famous quote of J.K. Galbraith is, if you have read him, is like, there are two kinds of forecasters in the world. One who don't know, the other who don't know that they don't know. And I don't fall in like any one of those. So I won't talk much about the macro markets. These days I was talking to whom? I think I was talking to Aditya, and there was this, where is he? He's there. So I was talking to him and he said that these days you get so much of information. I mean, like, even when I'm talking, there's a likelihood, because the way, I mean, this is like the dopamine. Your phone is like the worst form of addiction that you can think of. Like, you will be like compelled to take your phone out and see, like, check your WhatsApp, or if you are on other social media, like whatever, Twitter and whatever, Facebook, and these days something called Telegram channel, I'm told, which is very popular among stock traders and all. We get so much of information and data. What information does is it gives us an illusion of control. It gives us an illusion of like more confidence, because we think that we know more. And you get so much of very interesting data, and the people who are putting there, they have to put in a certain manner, creating some, I don't know, I mean, correlation between, I don't know, the length of skirts sold in a particular store and the GDP growth. These are like real charts. If you Google, you will get it. And the business cycles. And you will see the height of Federal Bank Governor, Chairman, and the interest rate cycle. How it has moved along with the height. So Paul Volcker was like much above 6 feet, and then over a period of time, US rates came from 14% to 0, and then Powell is like taller than Janet Yellen, so it's kind of like gone up. So you see all kinds of these interesting data. But remember this, as you are an investor, data is not information. Information is not knowledge. Knowledge is not understanding, and understanding is not wisdom. And wealth is created through wisdom. It's less about how much internet you use. It's more about how much internet you use. And that's very important. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the wealth creation, not so much about what has happened last month and what is likely to happen next month. And because you get so much of data and information, it's very difficult to shift between what's the signal and what's the noise. What is really, I mean, in the post-truth world, as people say, like, what is truth and what is the garbage that's kind of like coming in, and that colors our thinking. I won't make any predictions simply because, I mean, Rajul was telling me about many things post-Trump. The only thing I can tell you about the global economy, the only thing I can say with certainty about the world we are in is the continuity of uncertainty. The only thing I can say with certainty is continuity of this uncertainty, the world we indeed are in. There are three things about the world you need to remember. Number one is everything is unpredictable. I mean, I know the word VUCA is like a very cliched, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, but we indeed live in a VUCA world. And you go back in last, let's say, not only last couple of years, but go back last 25 years, every year or second year, something happens in the world which hasn't happened in 100 years, or which hasn't happened in hundreds of years. And every time you use this word like statistics, or the people like us who are in markets, there's a Six Sigma event. A Six Sigma event is something that should happen once in hundreds of years. but something or the other. So go back 99, 2000, the tech boom and bust, absolutely unprecedented. The 9/11 attack on America, global financial crisis, 2008 in United States. I mean, look at the Euro crisis, some of the like most developed countries in Europe. People have forgotten that PIGS countries, Portugal, Ireland, Italy, Greece, and Spain, they were like almost on the verge of bankruptcy. The US downgrade, 2013, the taper tantrum, 2000, I mean, I can just go on. And then 2020, COVID again, once in 100 years. But I just tell you something more important about the markets, how to look at that. In February of 2020, Nifty touched an all-time high of 12,000. I mean, all of us were like in TV studios talking about, how the world is looking far better. India, the economy has bottomed, likely to do well. And it's not only about the level of market. The volatility in global markets, whether it's equity market, in bond market, in currency market, in commodities, was at a multi-year low or a multi-decade low, which means markets have no idea. Markets have no idea what's coming in next few weeks or few days. If I had a crystal ball, and if I were in the event of, let's say, a Capital League here, and I told you that I can see the future, that over the next 1 or 2 years, we are going to see a health crisis, which is the worst that humanity has seen in over 100 years. Millions, hundreds of thousands of people will lose their lives. The whole world will go through a shutdown. There will be a massive supply shock and a demand shock that we haven't seen in our life or even our previous generation. We are going to have an economic crisis. Almost every country in the world will have a recession. In India, even thinking about recession was like almost impossible, but even a country like India will have recession. You will have a social crisis. If you look at the migrants shifting the way they were in India, or the Black Lives Matter, or all kinds of social crisis. She talked about the Trump, and then we'll have the worst possible geopolitical crisis, a war in the heart of Europe, worst after Second World War. What you are seeing in Middle East, the Palestine, Israel, and some of the other very large conflict like what's happening in Armenia, Azerbaijan, and all those don't even get the headline because there are like so many bigger challenges that the world is facing. And last but not the least, fifth, we are going to see one of the worst climate crises that over the last 3 years, every single year has been like the hottest in history. Or you see, yesterday I was at an award function and Sunita, they felicitated Sunita Narayan, and she said that very rightly that every single day you have one extreme weather event which hasn't happened in years or decades or centuries somewhere or the other in our country. And our country is like a continent, somewhere or the other. I mean, what humanity has seen is absolutely unprecedented. So had I told you in February 2000 when markets were like at an all-time high, you would say that let's not take any risk. I'll just keep my money in like bank deposit, and preferably in HDFC Bank. Money is like 100% safe. But what might have happened, nobody would have thought that 3 years later, your NAVs would have multiplied. So most of these things, the point I was trying to make, does not really make so much of sense to pay so much of attention to a lot of these things. What's the most important for investors for next several years? And I see like most of the people are like pretty young. I think they are maybe 50, 60, 70. So you have another 4, 5, 7 decades to go. In Silicon Valley, they say that if you live for next 10 years, the probability of you living for several decades just goes up. I mean, just go up very, very materially. The kind of work which is happening in the area of healthcare, and particularly the longer and healthier lifespan. The only thing you need to know about investing and the way you go about it is, and being in India, that India is creating an economic miracle which is unprecedented in human history. India is creating and we are like, you don't realize when you're part of history, and we are all part of history. India is creating an economic miracle which is unparalleled in human history. And I'm saying this when she talked about like, GDP growth and government capex was lower, and GDP growth came much lower. RBI has revised it downward for this year, and next year they've revised the inflation target upwards. So, and then markets have fallen, I don't know, maybe 5, 7, 10% from the peak. And I'm still saying this, that India is creating an economic miracle which is unparalleled in human history. With $2,500 per capita, there is no country in human history has followed a growth model and is likely to see in next 25 years that what India is likely to see. India's growth will be so different from any other part of the world. So you have seen many countries in the last couple of 100 years where they moved from a frontier economy to an emerging economy to an emerged economy to a developed economy. Our journey has just kind of like started. While we may be a fifth largest economy in the world, we may be the fourth, fifth largest equity market in the world, but we are still like poorest of the poor country at $2,500 per annum. But any of the countries that, and by the way, at $2,500,000 or so, we are exactly where US was in 1940s, UK was in 1950s, Japan was sometime in late 60s, early 70s, Korea, Taiwan in 1982-83, China was there in 2003, and I can like kind of go back in history and give you comparison with many other economies which have become developed. But the biggest difference between all of them and India is that India's growth will be a lot more democratic, lot more inclusive, lot more equitable, and lot more sustainable. The countries that have grown, they never thought about planet, they never thought about future generation of people. They just destroyed the planet. At $2,500, it takes courage and character for a society to say that Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam when we hosted G20, which became G20, inducted African Union into it. No country in the history of the world has done that. They only thought about themselves. They never thought about what we are doing to the planet, what we are going to do the future generation. So we are not borrowing from the future. We are going to lend to the future generation. This is a very, very different growth story than any other part of the world. I won't give you much data points, but given that we have the democracy, we have demographics, we have demand, we have digitalization, and the fifth D. So 4D I used to talk about for last 10 years wherever I travel in the world. The fifth D that I have added, why I feel more positive about India, is the determination. 1 billion plus people have never been as determined to do well as they are today. 1 billion plus people have never been as determined to do well as they are today. For countries that become developed countries, they get three things right. Number one is rule of law, property rights, ease of doing business, respect for wealth creators, so on and so forth. We are moving in the right direction. We are a chaotic democracy. I always tell people, I was on a offshore roadshows for 5 days, meeting probably 30 largest global investors in the world in last couple of days, though it was in Far East, in Hong Kong, Singapore, but these are all global giants. Asset owners and asset managers, and I always tell them that if you read the newspaper, India will always look like such a chaotic country. This is 1.4 billion people, the noisiest of the democracy you can think of. There will always be some or the other election happening somewhere, and it's a very different kind of society. Most of the people cannot relate to it, but there is something really working with us and working very well. So I think India is moving in the right direction for that. The number two thing they get right is education and innovation. India did a great job on tertiary education. We have the IITs and the IIM. We look at like global CEO list. They are all like most of the IITians and the IIM people kind of like now leading the global organizations. But we didn't do as good a job on the primary education for a large part of our life. And that's where I think that's one of the reasons why we missed the manufacturing bus, unlike China. On innovation also, we have never been like as innovative, not really investing as much in innovation. For innovation in India is like what the word we use is jugaad. We find ways to do things which is our innovation. But whenever I travel outside, historically, and I always get this question asked on India versus China. You have to answer that. So till few years back, my answer used to be like very simple. It's a cliche. You would have heard it many times. India grows because of its government. China grows because of its government. We grow despite our government. And I was like one of the senior most government officials, a very dear friend of mine, Naresh is sitting here, but on a lighter note, that has been the perception that it's about the entrepreneurs, it's about the private sector, it's not state-driven growth. But you might have heard this, but the second is changing at a rapid pace. That government is a facilitator. On a lighter note, earlier, all my life, we'll have foreign investors coming into India. They will visit Mumbai. They will meet many people like me or the other corporates, and they feel very positive. And I'm till few years back. Then they will come to Delhi, and then they will go back a little negative. The pace at which the government works now, it's other way around. I keep telling my colleagues that I mean the discipline that you see here, the work ethic that you see here, I think it's better we get the same in Mumbai. The interesting part, the second thing I used to say is that there are countries in the world which are determined to do well. There are countries in the world which are determined to grow. But there are countries in the world or societies in the world which are destined to do well. And destiny just helps us in many ways. And how the destiny has helped us that because thanks to technological revolutions or technology evolution, we have leapfrogged on many things. We never had like bank branches. We straight moved to bank branch in our pocket through the UPI. This is the best in the world. We never had like computers. Everybody's got a smartphone. We never had like fixed line phone. Everybody's got the mobile. So we can just leapfrog 30, 40 years. Whatever we missed, now we can just leapfrog and then AI can take us to a different level. In a short period of time, in last 10 years, we have moved from the most data poor society in the world to the most data rich society in the world. Most data poor society in the world to the most data rich society in the world. And it's a transformation. We have seen what it has done in let's say, financial inclusion, like 1 billion people who never had access. My driver used to take hard cash. He was from, I think, Bhadoi district or somewhere. He'll go to VT, he'll take leave, he'll try to find somebody that he knows in train, will give him the cash, and the person will deliver at his home. Maybe he'll make a call to find out whether the money has reached and how it has changed in such a short period of time. It's incredible. I mean, all of you with relatives or friends in United States, I'm in the COVID vaccination. They're like one physical chit and the second physical chit handwritten, the third booster shot in airport, like you are figuring out where those 3 chits are safe. Here, before the needle could come out, I mean, you had the message on your phone. That's how, I mean, 1.4 billion people we could administer at that scale. I can go on and on but several things we won't be able to kind of like even visualize how the digitalization, along with the AI, which I think is the 4th biggest revolution in human history, it's as big as agriculture, industrial, information. This is the intelligence revolution we are going through, and this is more powerful than the previous 3. We can talk a little more about it. That moving from the most data poor to the most data rich society, and what all we can do. And like just we solve the problem of financial inclusion, think about healthcare, what it can do. Think about education, what it can do. My mother never went to high school, but the way she uses her Apple phone, I mean, she'll beat me hands down any day. I mean, she looks at me like I'm taking a picture and then trying to transfer. She says, no, go to WhatsApp, and then there is a phone icon. The way she would like every day change her DP and many things that she did, how the phone can change lives. And in healthcare particularly, I think transformative things can happen in next 5 years. Many of people sitting here wouldn't even know that 65 crore people are on ABHA app. 65 crore people. And imagine when like if any doctor or somebody from healthcare field is here, imagine like in few years time what all this can do, just like what we have seen with UPI and the many other things, access to credit and a lot of other challenges of society, the way it can get solved. So the first was, we have rule of law, property rights, ease of doing business, so on and so forth. The second we need to get right is education, innovation. For decades we didn't do a good job, but the digitalization is just helping us. And now you have like Indians everywhere kind of ruling the whole innovation brigade everywhere. I mean, we have launched a fund on private equity and VC side, a fund, AIF fund, which invests in SDFC, AMC Select, AIF category 2, where we are investing in private equity and VC. We also do some bit of co-investing there. And when you meet some of these younger entrepreneurs, Sapna, I mean, it just blows you. I mean, the kind of, because the access to capital, access to technology, things have changed so dramatically for the younger people now. That makes me very positive. The third thing which is very critical in a democracy, which most of the countries get very wrong, and particularly a country which is like as as diverse and as complex as ours is the social security net. Putting the social security net right. We've done many, and I'll talk about it in a few minutes' time. We've done many reforms in the last several years, which like structurally changes many things. But let me do this. Let me ask this. Do you have a hand mic? You have a hand mic? Hand mic? Let me ask, like, what is the biggest reform that has happened in last 10, 15 years in India? Yes, ma'am? Can't hear you. Yeah? Yeah, the whole digitalization that I talked about. Anything else that comes to mind? The biggest reform?
And the cost of
The cost, yeah, it's very cheap, yeah. Any other? Can you hear me at the back? Yeah. Yeah, you have the identity layer, then you have the payment layer, and it's open architecture. It's like interoperable. You can keep building services on that. So much of innovation. The DPI, digital public infrastructure, is absolutely next to none. There is no developed country which has got the DPI that we have got. And any other? Yes, sir. The direct tax code and how easy it has become for people to file returns. Absolutely, yeah.
Totally, very easy.
पूरा आपका return, capital gain, सब कुछ आ जाता
Sitting
है.
at home, you can do it.
Yeah. And over a period of time, with the GST being online and that, the way government's tax to GDP can grow. India's government is one of the smallest government in the world in terms of tax to GDP, but that can structurally go up because this will lead to more formalization, which will do many good things. Anything, any other?
And the other thing is AI.
Yeah, the AI you are yet to see what all can happen. Yeah.
But some of the minus points are coming out of AI. People are losing jobs.
Yeah. Every big transition has been like that. When humanity moved from bow and arrow to cannons, I mean, people who couldn't move, they changed. In 1910, there is a very famous picture, if I remember year correct, 1910. The biggest challenge for New York, what they call, not municipality, what they call there, whatever the local government was that, how are they going to handle the rising population of horses and whatever the wastage it creates every day, how to deal with that. So there was like a big paper on that in 1910. They didn't know that in 5 years' time the roads will all be full of cars and problem will be something very different than what they were thinking. Yeah. What else? Any other large reform that has happened?
Jandan account. Jandan account.
Jandan financial inclusion, very big. What else?
Yes, I was asking.
RERA, how real estate sector has undergone a change. Yeah.
I was talking about Jandan only, so.
Thank you. That is very, very big, and I call like what our industry is seeing today is Jan Nivesh. This is not a government plan like Jan Dhan Yojana. This is Jan Nivesh, is people investing 2,500 rupees per month for their retirement, and what all it has done for the country. Like I couldn't have imagined in my life as a fund manager that $11.5 billion of selling in 20 days. What would have happened to our market? What would have happened to our currency? What would have happened to our like money markets and all? But it didn't impact as much because we have the power of retail money. Yes, absolutely. What else? So just one second. Yeah?
insurance.
Yeah, insurance penetration. Okay. Yeah.
Middle class, the growth of middle class.
The growth of the middle class. There's a lot more that has to happen. Yeah. I never get the answer that I'm looking for, and that's the biggest reform that has happened in India in last 10 years. Yeah.
Focus on infrastructure.
It's very important, focus on infrastructure. So from 250 kilometers now we have, okay, they cannot hear. From 250 kilometers, 10 years back, we have 900 plus kilometers of metro in urban areas. We used to do like some 3,000 kilometers in a year of new roads. Now we do 12,000 kilometers of new road in a year. Our number of airports have doubled, but they will keep doubling like every 5-7 years, but still for next 20-30 years we'll have that growth. So infrastructure is incredible. The government used to spend, central government used to spend around 3 lakh crores 5 years back, 4 years back, and now they spend like 11 lakh crores on infrastructure, which again will do a lot of good things, including the one that bringing down the cost of logistics. because that was like one of the big challenge for manufacturing. You need some of those things, whether it's power, whether it's roads, whether it's ports, airports, good connectivity. So infrastructure is one. What else? What is like really very positive for India last 10 years? The ease of shopping, the Blinkit and all. Yeah. Yeah.
I think the digital
Quick commerce.
while sitting in your office on your table,
Yeah.
you get and then you can do anything and everything.
Yeah, you can.
Like fan or alarm or
Yeah. What else?
the
So
best,
the digital
No, of course, yeah. The digital identity. On top of that, which is a bank account which is linked, and the mobile phone. This is just incredible, absolutely incredible. What else?
I don't have to pay cash to anybody.
Sorry, sir.
I don't have to pay cash to anybody in my home.
No, absolutely. Yeah. You can be now. I mean, in future generation, will tell people that we used to carry a wallet where there used to be the cash currency. There used to be this card, that card, whatever. In future, you will have only phone. But I think we'll disrupt phone also because you have the Elon Musk that thing.
Sometime I
In your
ask
brain, yeah.
my daughter or son,
Yeah.
you have 10-20 rupees to pay to the parking man. They said we don't carry any cash.
No, they don't. The newer generation doesn't carry any cash. Yeah. It's the only place where you can give 10 rupee to a beggar on the street. Yeah, this is just incredible. We underestimate
take-
what we have done.
They take Paytm now.
Yeah. And I'll come to that on the women part because I have to end because ये सब तो छोटा मोटा है बाकी सब. उसके पहले one bigger thing. So the biggest reform, there are many things that happen. One of the biggest reform that, yes ma'am.
Biometric, so that
Yeah, the
employees
biometric Aadhaar, you
they
mentioned
know
about it. Yes,
women.
absolutely. The voting, I mean, think about it, the way it happens, and you read about like the US elections, we cannot relate to it, and it looks like country with like more than 20 times our per capita GDP, the biggest and the oldest democracy in the world. You look at stories of their elections and you look at India, it's just incredible. There's so much to be proud of. By the way, on women, I just
GST?
said, yeah, GST has been like really, truly very big, and also because it's completely online, the digital trail that it creates and what all can be done with it. And also, like when I say the biggest miracle in the history of mankind, India is one of the very few countries in the world which started with one person, one vote. Very few countries in the world, and such a society, the poorest of the poor society, multi-ethnic country was 500 different countries. We started with one person, one vote. It took several decades. It took centuries for women to get voting right in large part of the world. Switzerland just got it few decades back. For centuries they didn't have because they thought, how can women vote? US, it took like several decades. Women kept fighting for the voting right. They didn't have the franchise. In some countries, poor people didn't have. In some countries, farmers didn't have voting right. In some countries, if you were like person of color, you didn't have voting right. This country started with one person, one vote, and it's only been strengthening in 75. This is an incredible story. What else? So, let me, in the interest of time, the biggest reform that has happened in India, all leveraging and all of the things that, by the way, before that, I tell you one more, which is underappreciated but most important from an investing perspective, is the Monetary Policy Committee framework. Reserve Bank of India did not cut interest rates even when growth came down. Why? Because they are focused on inflation. But in the long run, if you are an investor, that's the biggest positive, right? If the central bank of the country is saying that I am governed by the statute that I have to anchor CPI inflation at around 4%, and with 6%, then I will sacrifice some bit of growth. It's a great thing as an investor. So if you are earning 7-8% on my fixed income funds, you're getting 3-4% real return. If you are getting 10-12% in equity, you're getting 5-6% real return, because central bank is, I won't use the word guaranteeing you, but kind of like a statute that I'll keep inflation at 4, which wasn't the case historically. The biggest reform, and I can go on, the things that have happened we underestimate. You don't realize when you're part of history. The biggest reform that has happened in India in last 10 years is what I call India's UBI movement. UBI is Universal Basic Income. This is not a universal, and I'm not referring to Ladki Behna or whatever, where they give cash to certain people. UBI is where you credit cash in every citizen's bank account. We are not doing that. What we have done is something very unique. This is one toilet. This is a basic toilet a basic electricity, a tap water, a cooking gas, Sukanya Samriddhi, 80 crore people, basic wheat and rice. I mean, you have an Ayushman Bharat, Atal pension, the basic necessities. I come from a small town in Rajasthan, from Byawar. I've seen what India was 20 years back. I mean, forget about the food. The lady is worried about the wood. If wood is there, then they can cook the food, and they will go for like miles to fetch some wood. They will go miles. I come from Byawar, पानी नहीं आता था नरेश जी. So बहुत jokes होते थे हमारे childhood में that I mean the bride and groom are sitting for the like event, and then the bride just runs away and she says that बस पानी आ गया, तुम तो कल भी मिल जाओगे, पानी वापस पता नहीं कब आएगा. And in that country, let's say the solar, that thing, like millions of people will have the Pradhan Mantri Awas, you get the basic house, and all delivered through like leveraging on what each one of you said, Aadhaar card, mobile phone, and the bank account, that there are hardly any leakages. And when we do this, what we are trying to do is 70-80 crore people who could never think about their tomorrow because they were so busy with solving the life challenge for the today, they start thinking about their tomorrow. And that's like the biggest thing that has happened. And that makes me most bullish on India, because most of the people, if you have invested in any business, they will talk about the total addressable market. People always get, Abhijit, you know, the per capita consumption, and they like always scratch their head in 1.4 billion, how can the market be so small? Because like beyond 20, 30, 40 crore people, there is no market. I mean, those people have nothing. He's worried about, or she's worried about the food or the wood today. Now when you are doing this and empowering them through whatever digital tech and all, they are thinking about their tomorrow. If you go to like rural India, and I come from rural India, and I still travel across the country, there are three things you notice in every village of country. There are three things you notice in villages, and those of you who have been to villages. Number one, every village in India has got an English medium school, and I'm not saying that English is like important. Over a period of time, we'll see that how India gets more confidence about speaking its own languages, but still, the way world has been and the way we have been, it just shows that a farmer's son or whatever, a plumber's son, thinks that if I get my daughter or son into an English medium, the spelling of English medium school, all three, may be wrong on the board itself, but still it's about the aspiration that it's a escape velocity from the life we have lived. The two thing that you see in India is in every village in India, you'll have a beauty parlor. Now they may be selling like chalk instead of facial, but what it shows is like the aspiration of people. I mean, a consumer company CEO told me that they were in a place where they saw fabric whitener, and he said, no, this village cannot be the market for my fabric whitener. I never thought about this. But problem kya hota hai India mein, that maybe people are using it for something else. Like the washing machine companies never realized कि पंजाब में इतनी क्यों बिक रही थी, लोग लस्सी बना रहे थे. So he thought there is something unique which we don't know, and he asked the farmer, why are you buying this fabric whitener? तो उसने बोला शाम तक कपड़ा अच्छा लगता है. He said, what a transformation in the country. And the third thing you won't be able to relate, and coming to that point, girls wear jeans. I come from a background where I've seen girls getting married at the age of 5, 7, 8, 10, 12 on Akshaya Tritiya. Hundreds of them in full public light. From there to, and then girl has like full veil, and of course she doesn't even know who the guy is and what the family is. From there to this escape velocity is very different. Today when a girl in, let's say, in Azamgarh district, a small village, on her WhatsApp, she looks at Anushka and Virat Kohli, Sabyasachi Mukherjee lehenga of 20-30 lakhs, or the most grand wedding ever on planet Earth. There they see the, whatever. She doesn't feel jealous about it. She thinks that I can also get it. If I get educated, I move, I work hard, I can get it. This change in aspiration, particularly among the young girls, and I see that in my office. I mean, a 20-year-old girl who's an intern, she'll walk into my room with so much of confidence. I mean, this is a very, very different country. That makes me like super positive on India. And the social security net, of course, I mean, if we overextend it without a proper, the focus also on capital expenditure, and without a proper focus on like ensuring that it doesn't become like a pure entitlement, or in other words, a revenue, it may not be good at this stage. But this was very critical, and I never call it populist, because in a democratic setup, which gives you a lot more sustainability of of growth. And as an entrepreneur or running a business or in market, is very important that in a democratic setup you ensure a dignified living for every citizen. Otherwise, it can backfire in a very, very significant manner. And that's why I think it's a very, very big reform. I feel over the next several years, forget about what happens in next quarter too, but the way to make money and to make the most of the India story is just staying invested. I mean, as Mangar, he died at the age of just before his 100th birthday. He said the money is not made by buying and selling, money is made by waiting. And it's about just waiting and trying to make the most of the India story over the next 25 years. There'll surely be cycles. I have no idea. I mean, if let's say the growth and the earnings disappoint another quarter, another 2 quarter, market goes down another 10% or so. We have seen many cycles. In fact, last 4 years have been an exception to the rule. We haven't really seen a serious correction of 10%. And between 2003 and 2021, April 2003, Sensex was at 3,000. Jan 2008, it was 21,000. So 3 to 21, 7x. And funds like ours would have multiplied money even more. But I mean, you had like many 6, 7, 8 corrections of more than 10%. Some of them were even more severe. But this time we haven't seen that, so it's good. It's a healthy correction. There were a lot of exuberance in pockets of market, but the structural positive story is like ensuring that you remain invested. I just give you a last data point. Over the last 30 years, this has not happened in any country in the world other than United States. There are very few countries which are like the real compounding story. In last 30 years, nominal GDP has grown at around 10-11%. Corporate profits have grown around 11-12%. Market is delivered around 12-13%. And if you were at SDFC Mutual Fund and these guys selected those funds, you have done better. This has not happened in many countries. This has happened in United States. It's a true capitalist country that you have a country which continues to grow at a very good pace. You have a corporate sector and entrepreneurs who convert that growth into their revenues and their profits. You have a stock market which delivers those profits into the returns that a minority shareholder can get. And you have a mutual fund industry where even with someone with 1,000 rupees per month has got the same growth. This has not happened anywhere. India is exactly, I told you earlier, where China was in 2003 in terms of growth. From 2003 to 2024, market has hardly delivered. Maybe their index would have doubled or something. We were at, like I told you, 3,000, we are at 80,000 because the growth got converted into revenues and profits. Profits got converted into stock market return, and you are an industry which could deliver that growth. And how that growth has been delivered, and that's the power of compounding. The last thing I want to make this point, you need to remember. Anybody who did that 10,000 rupee per month SIP in HDFC FlexiCap Fund, next month will have 30th anniversary. Anyone who did 10,000 rupees per month SIP in HDFC FlexiCap Fund, how much that amount would be today? 1 crore, maybe 2 crores. आप बहुत शॉपिंग करते हो, so कितना पैसा हो गया होता अब तक शॉपिंग करने के लिए? Just a guess, 10,000 rupees per month, 4 crores? Sorry? She's saying, really 4 crores? Yeah, it would have been 20 crores. Imagine, थक जाते हैं आपके हाथ वो Blinkit पे order करते करते. It's a 20 or 19, Chandrika, 19 crores something, yeah. That's the power of compounding. India is such an amazing compounding story, and you get like right people to deliver that to you. It's an incredible. I don't see any reason that next 30 years would be different. By the way, because I quoted you these numbers, I have to say, I chair Association of Mutual Funds in India. Mutual funds are subject to market risk. Please read the offer document carefully. Past returns are no guarantee of the future returns. I mean, that was a different era. Inflation was much higher when we delivered 18-19%. But it just shows the power of compounding. Even if it is lower, you just imagine what your money can do in a country like India. Thank you so much. God bless you. We are so lucky to be part of this. When Buffett was asked that what the secret of his success, he's like richest man in the world who made money through the stock market. He just said, I came out of the right womb at the right place. Had he been in any other born in any other country, he wouldn't have been so rich. All of us 30 years later will say we were at the right time at the right place. Yahi samay, sahi samay. Thank you so much.